This is Father Dominic Holtz coming to you from Rome, Italy, with a word of hope for Thursday of the 7th week in Ordinary Time. Today's Gospel, at first glance, gives us a rather terrifying picture of the kingdom of God. It would seem, if it's correct, that the kingdom of God is filled with a series of mangled bodies, of some people without eyes, some without hands, some without feet, and let's be honest, some probably with no eyes, no hands, or no feet. It's as though the kingdom of God is a place of brokenness, a place of a lack of wholeness, where God will only admit the little bits and pieces that make it to his standards, and the rest of it has to be discarded. Now, that's clearly a misreading of today's gospel. Jesus certainly, quite literally, does not want us to mangle our bodies in order to come into the kingdom. But also metaphorically, he's not saying that God only wants bits and pieces of us, parts of us, that he wants just us to carve up these sections that maybe just then they're good enough for God. That's not what the gospel is about here. The gospel is about life. It's about wholeness. So what's going on? The truth of the matter is, all of us tells a story about ourselves. We all have a certain idea of what belongs to us. Some of it we're proud of. Some of it seems perfectly ordinary. Some of it we're maybe not very proud of at all. But it's part of us, and we can't imagine ourselves without it. We can't believe, we can't think that there will be any version of ourselves that would be missing even those shameful parts. What the gospel tells us is that's a lie. That in fact, those parts of us that we think are essential, that we think are just built into us, as intimate to us as our eye, as our hand, as our feet, those aren't really part of us. Those are untruths. And that we will survive on the other end of removing them. And so by the dramatic language of mutilating our bodies, what Jesus is telling us is to put to death the false stories that we tell about ourselves, to put to death the notion that sin or rebellion or perversion or the petty cruelties that we show to our neighbor and our loved ones, the thought that those are just who we are. Jesus says, no, that self, that false self will not enter the kingdom unless cut apart and mangled. But the true self, the person you really are, the one that is whole and worthy of life, the one who was loved from the beginning, the foundation of the world, by the Lamb that was slain, that self is called to the kingdom. And that, my brothers and sisters, is a word of hope.